Hey everyone, welcome back. Tennessee here, and today I wanted to do something a little different. You see, I've had this idea floating around for a while about a fantasy-themed kart racer, and being a huge World of Warcraft fan, figured that would be the perfect place for a proof of concept. So today I'll be taking you through how I developed this 1 versus 1 race between you as a goblin and a siege engine. The race takes you around a natural loop in the game that leads you through Elwyn Forest, Red Ridge, Duskwood, and then finally ending where it started, back at Sentinel Hill in Westfall. Now I have no claim to anything created here aside from most of the code. All of the assets in the game are from World of Warcraft, and I have no intent on distributing it in any form as I'm not sure of the legality of it. This video is more so just going over the creation process. The first challenge I had to tackle was figuring out a way to get WoW assets into the Unity game engine. Initially I thought of WoW Model Viewer, but ended up using WoW.export as it allows the exportation of chunks of the game's world. Combining that with a Unity package called WoW.UnityDevelop, which I found on GitHub, allowed me to export full chunks that were then converted into prefabs within the game engine. This saved countless hours of time, as it goes ahead and places all the items and builds colliders and such for you. Having the race cover such a large area of the map, it took over 3 hours to import while the tool did its work. But in the end, it ended up being an exact replication of the zones. I then went around the map and deleted all the unnecessary game objects and colliders to improve performance. My next goal was to get a character controller working. I found the Goblin cart that I was going to use as the player, and decided to download the Unity Learn Micro Kart minigame, as I didn't want to have to reinvent the wheel. After taking what I wanted from it, I deleted the rest of the package and noticed when driving the wheels were really wonky. So I had to move the cart over into Blender and literally reinvent the wheel. I ended up taking a different cart from the game and using the wheels from it as they were more circular and they ended up looking better. The next problem I decided to tackle was finding a way to set up a barrier. I used Pro Builder, which is a modeling application inside of Unity that allowed me to create a mesh within the engine. I went into a top-down perspective and drew out the racetrack by following along the road. I then exported the result and took that into Blender where I was able to further modify the mesh and delete unnecessary faces. I wound up with just the walls left, which I then re-imported into Unity and used Pro Builder once again to tweak the mesh by moving individual lines to fine-tune the barrier. At this point I needed to find a way to make the barrier see-through so it didn't block all of the level scenery. I made it transparent, but then it was too hard to delineate where the edge of the track was, so I ended up copying it and reducing the size to make 2 smaller barriers, which I applied a semi-transparent yellow material to. I then made them follow the terrain by moving the lines into the terrain's contour via the y-axis. The smaller barriers would serve as the visual representation while the invisible barrier actually held the collider. With the barrier complete, I then wanted to work on a checkpoint system. I used boxes with trigger colliders and gave them a waypoint script, which allowed me to assign an integer to each of them that incremented in value as you progressed along the track. I then wrote a manager script that would check and make sure the waypoint you're going through is equal to the one that you've already went through, plus 1, and then resets once you hit the finish line. It also dictates how many laps are required to finish the race, but this map takes about 5 minutes to complete, so I just went with 1 lap required. Well, at this point I had a race car, track, barriers, and a waypoint system, so the next logical thing to do would be give me someone to race against. I took a steam engine into Blender and made the wheels their own object so that I could have them rotate when it moves. I also separated the turret so I could have it track the player's position, because initially I thought I was going to have it shoot at you, but I ended up canning that idea. I then brought it back into Unity and set up a series of 136 nodes along the track, and wrote a simple enemy car AI that made it follow the nodes at a predetermined speed, and rotate towards the position it was heading to. After that, it was just setting up a main menu button that allows you to retry and doing one last visual pass, where I ended up adding some of the models from the Shimmering Sands Raceway, such as flags, bleachers, and hay bales. While testing, I found it best to make the player slightly faster than the Siege engine. This allows you to beat the engine, but has you failing if you crash once or twice. The engine does get a head start and actually cuts off a portion of the track at the end, so being faster makes winning feel obtainable, but not too easy. I actually had quite a bit of fun making this little mini racing game. I think if Blizzard actually developed a Warcraft-inspired Diddy Kong Racing, it would sell like hotcakes. I know I would buy it. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the look into my little weekend project. I'm not sure if I'll keep working on this one at all. Honestly, I hadn't coded in a while, so I was just trying to knock off some rust and not take things too seriously. It's really easy to get completely consumed in a Unity project for months at a time, and I wanted to avoid that while also doing something creative. If you guys have any ideas for WoW-inspired minigames, let me know down in the comments. I'm open to making more content like this as I really enjoyed my time with it, but that's going to be it for this one. I hope you guys have a great day, and we'll see you in the next one.